something to say, something to say.
Hey everybody, how's it going? Our House 21 here. You might be wondering why I'm sitting here standing in front of my kitchen sink. Well, the reason is Tre and Ghost sold on eBay last night, and I'm in the process of getting these guys ready to paint. So I've had conversations with both the new owners, and they've described the paint jobs they want. So now I'm getting these guys ready to go ahead and receive the magnificent piece de resistance that the new owners wanted me to go ahead and lay down. So, like I said, you guys have seen me use these Protoform PF8 bodies before. They're actually a pretty slick body. Like them a lot. They're made out of a fairly strong Lexan. And for you, those of you who aren't initiated to RC bodies, you know, these guys are, they're Lexan, and different bodies come with various thicknesses of Lexan. So some are, not all bodies are created equal, some are a lot more durable than others. The PF8's body is actually fairly thick compared to some of them I've seen. This still has all the same weaknesses, so you can get this little crumple zone up in the front where it wants to bend. But it does, all these little bends in here actually go to add and give it extra strength, so it's not a weak body. And I've seen unreinforced bodies going over 100 miles an hour, so they do what they need to. So the nice thing about all these things though is that when you go to make a paint job on these, what really separates these types of bodies from, let's say, a regular automotive paint job is the fact that on a regular auto paint job is a base coat, clear coat type of situation where you lay down the base coat of paint and then you put a coat of clear paint on top of it, and that clear paint turns into basically a polymer shell that tries to protect the base color. In this situation, in an RC car, you get the same thing. However, the base coat is actually applied on the bottom of the car. So, and the clear coat is a polymer shell. It's a polycarbonate Lexan plastic. So it makes it very durable, very tough. And the cool thing about it is that if you do get yourself a set of, you do get yourself a rash where you impact something or anything, you can get some plastic polish and polish that out and then make it look pretty and good as new and everything. The downside with Lexan paint is that your paint job is only as good as the adhesion the paint has to the body. So again, why I'm standing over the sink is I've just got done washing these guys. So, and this is a very important step for getting ready to prep these guys for paint. You want to go through, you want to get a high quality dish soap, and you want to just go ahead and wipe it down the side and get all the oils and contaminants and dirt and crud that could have built up inside of here off, and rinse it out, and then go back and dry it with a lint-free towel. In this case, I use a nice generic microfiber towel. But you get in there and you get everything off of there, and you prepare the surface, and then you have it ready to go to the next step. So as you see, I've already done this with Ghost Body, and over here on the side, I also have got the spoilers, and this right here is the Proline Bulldog body. That's a Tre's new body. And for those who've been following the channel for a while, Tre was actually up on eBay before. He didn't get the price I was looking for. So I took him down, kind of hang around in the basement for a while. So I just go ahead and move him. So this time, instead of doing the carbon fiber Kevlar reinforcement, I just decided the same deal I have with Ghost, where I did a custom paint job. As I said, I've gone back and forth with the purchaser, and he has a cool paint concept he wants me to go ahead and give a try. So this Proline Bulldog body, I think, will take pretty well to it. So I'm pretty excited. Again, this is fairly thick Lexan, and one interesting thing about Lexan or a lot of these plastics are that these complex contours actually they turn into structural rigidity. So this is actually a fairly stiff body. It's not very stiff torsionally, but it's got a lot of compression, or you can't bend it. So it's actually pretty durable. So, and it seems to be fairly thick polycarbonate, or fairly thick Lexan too. So it should paint up pretty well. So next step here, since both bodies have been cleaned, they're already wiped down, so it's a nice good surface to adhere to. So, oh, and I'll just kind of jump into the fact that I've done a few bodies. As you guys have seen before, I've done regular painted, I've done fiberglass reinforcement, and I've also done composite reinforcement. And one thing that you need to keep in mind when you do one of these bodies is the surface prep that you do is really dependent upon what type of finish you're going to do on. If you're going to do a composite body, then you might consider not painting it at all. Because part of the deal is that when you paint one of these bodies, the paint actually becomes an integral part of the structure of this body. And what I mean by that is composites are essentially just made up of layers of material. That's why it's called composite, because it has a variety of different things that add together to make a composite material. Composite literally means multiple things turning into one. So in this situation, if you think about the body as being the base leg sand here, and I'll just use my microfiber towel for illustration. Let's just say that this was carbon fiber cloth. I lay this over the car, and now I put on my resin, and I adhere that to the car. So now I have a very strong resin impregnated carbon fiber. I have the leg sand, but what can happen is that if the two are bonded really tightly, then they basically become one material. You're not going to separate them. But let's just say I have a layer of Vaseline in between the two, then the carbon fiber is just going to peel right off. So when you paint one of these bodies, it kind of does the same thing as putting in an intermediate material in between two strong materials. So what can happen is, if you, let's say, hit a very big impact and it causes the underlying material to deform, the strong material on top might not want to deform as much as the other one, or vice versa. So what happens is the two materials can delaminate. That happens all the time in the aerospace world, or I should say it's something you always look for in the aerospace world. But delamination is a very bad thing, because once that happens, the material just basically rips apart from the inside. So if your main objective is strength, having a layer of paint in the middle of your two composite layers, or multiple composite layers, could, it basically makes that paint into a failure mode, and it compromises the strength of the whole material. So if your main goal is strength versus cosmetics, what you may want to do is, after you get it all nice and clean, hit it with some sandpaper. Now that might hurt your head, but by going and scoring it with sandpaper, and the coarse grit will actually work better for you. You're actually giving the leg sand material some texture on the top, that the resin that you put in on top of your composite can soak through and bite into this material. That will make a strong mechanical connection on top of the adhesion from the paint, basically lock the two layers of material together, make them into one. So then if you do multiple layers of composite, it just has a very strong foundation, and they're not coming apart. You're going to get something that's really, really tough. And the downside with that, though, is that I personally have not done a clear body with a composite that's been bonded in that way. So the interface may end up looking a little rough. So, but if the resin stinks all in there, it might actually give a nice, cool cosmetic look. So I may try one of those in the future, but for the time being, that's just kind of a thought exercise. So let's just go ahead and jump into the next step of prep, and that's getting ready to mask off the bodies. Alright guys, so now we're back ready for the next step along the process, and that's masking. Now there's a few different ways you can do masking, and I've done a couple different techniques. But anyway, on previous bodies, like on Dizzy, I actually did that with masking tape, the blue painter's tape, and that worked. The problem with that stuff is that you didn't get a really tight edge, because you always got bleed through underneath the edge of the tape. So lately I've been using this right here. This is liquid mask. There's a few different brands out there, but this stuff right here does a pretty decent job. The one thing to be concerned about with this stuff is that in order for it to do a good job, you need to lay it on thick. So if you have an air gun, or I should say an airbrush, you can use that and put on layers and build it up. And that's actually the recommended way of doing it. what I've discovered is that you can just take this stuff and it should already be mixed. I'm just going to shake it a little bit more. You can take it, you can lay it on thick with a good old-fashioned paintbrush, and that does a pretty decent job. So the thing about this stuff is that it takes, when you do it like this, it takes a while for it to dry. So don't think that you're going to go and like mask it off and then immediately go and paint like an hour later. It takes a while. So we see like this stuff right here has kind of got the consistency of Malox, or you know, some real nasty gunk here. But you take your brush, and I'll go ahead and start off with a small body. And also got some clear bits down here, spoiler and such. So I'll get that stuff here. The problem with these things, with this kind of surface, is that you have to be very careful because you can actually lose them in the texture. But let's move this body over here and just go ahead and start on the tray. So I just dip it right on in and then just start applying. And it's tough to do this wrong, honestly. But like I said, the thicker that you can get this stuff on, the better it will work. And that sounds kind of weird, but essentially what this stuff is doing is going in and it's, you know, it makes like it's a polymer. So it makes a film, like a liquid vinyl type of film, over the top of what you're doing. And it takes a few coats in order to lay it up nice and thick so it becomes strong. But once it's strong, it can actually act like a good medium and block paint overspray from getting in all sorts of weird places. So this car actually both of these cars came with decals to use to mask off. Since I'm using this stuff, I don't really need to use them. But I mean, I could just be dumbly paranoid and put them on and then mask over it, but it's not that big a deal. So like I said, this stuff takes a while to dry. And you know it's dry because like right now it's a nice opaque, looks kind of like, you know, actually kind of looks like Elmer's glue. So when it's ready, it's going to turn essentially clear. And just because I am a little bit paranoid with it, I like to go ahead and put on like 2 or 3 coats of this stuff. I mean, it's like I said, it's pretty impossible to make this stuff too thick. So, and the reason why you want it thick is because when you lay out your design, I probably should have shown that before I started the mask, but as you guys know, these cars have a layer of clear plastic on the front side. That's to protect the polycarbonate shell from getting all scratched up, you know, so you don't accidentally paint it, get overspray on it, or scratch it up while you're in the prep process, you know, to make it pretty. So the nice thing about that is that you can actually go in and take a marker pen and you could draw all your designs on that beforehand. And I actually picked up tip up from Squirrel, my Squirrel rod. But I'm sure Squirrel didn't invent it. But yeah, it's just a good standard practice. So you see, I've almost got complete coverage in here. There are a couple of spots that can need a little touch up. And like I said, it's kind of thick. But what's going to happen is when this stuff dries out, okay, you can't really see it there the way I'm holding it, but it's kind of thick. And but when it dries out, it's actually going to become, it's kind of like the liquid tape products or Plastidip. It's because it's water soluble, as the water evaporates and as it starts to cure, it gets thinner and thinner, so it turns into a very thin layer of the polymer. So you need to apply multiple layers in order to give it the strength that you need, because once you lay out your design, and I've pretty much got the point where I can turn around now, so you see it's turned nice and opaque. You know, let me just move this out of the way here so you can see it better. You know, it's got this nice little view like that on it. So now I can sit down and I can take a marker and I can sketch out, you know, all the graphics and where everything's going to sit and that sort of thing. And once I do that, and this stuff is cured, it's turned nice and clear, I can go on the underside and I can take an X-Acto knife, box cutter knife, or whatever I want to use. I can go in and score out the lines that I made on the outside of here, and then just peel off a section and just peel off the areas that I'm going to mask or that I'm going to unmask so I can lay down the paint. And using this technique, you can lay out some really intricate, pretty detailed designs. So it's a good product, but it only works well if you put it on really thick. Like one of the guys I subscribe to actually does some really cool trick paint work. I think his name is Ron Howard. No, Michael Howard, I think. I'll double check that, make sure I get his name right in the comments. But he's done some really nice paint jobs, but he blasted this stuff. He said he didn't like it at all because he had a lot of bleed through. So the only thing I can think of is when he laid out the paint or to mask, he might not have. I don't know if he used an airbrush to put it down or if he used a paintbrush like I am. But after I watched his video, I just said it's better to overkill than not have enough. So I think I've got enough for the first coat here. So it's better to overdo it than to underdo it. So I just lay it on thick and do 2-3 coats. And then I haven't had a problem in the cars that I've used this technique on. So there's a little bit of trial and error. So if you might want to start off this technique, with I've heard people say that it's good to practice on like soda bottles, which I think is kind of brilliant. And what I'm doing here, I'm just testing to see what side is the side that has the film on it. Be kind of ashamed to apply my masking to the side that that's already got the film, and it doesn't hurt my hands to get a little bit on it. Just wash right out. So go ahead and realize I don't have anything to set this on, so just get a paper towel. These are the end caps for Ghost spoiler. And I realized this is good because I may put a design on the end cap. I may not. If I don't put a design on the end cap, I just peeled it right back off. But again, this just kind of helped to protect things just in case. Alright. Here's a Ghost spoiler. I always thought this was a little bit silly. They put the masking, the protector on the back side. It's like, this is the part that I actually want to paint. So they do it kind of silly in my mind because I think that all the wear would come here. But yeah. Actually, okay, so let me go ahead and start on Ghost. So you see, Ghost is a little bit larger than, just a wee bit larger than Tre's body. That's okay, the more the merrier, right? So again, same type of technique, just laying it on thick. I was about to say there's probably no wrong way to do this, but every time I say something like that, somebody proves me wrong. So I'm not going to say there's no wrong way to do it, but I figure it's probably really difficult to screw this up. Like I said, this is just my method. There's always more than one way to skin a cat, and there's lots of smart guys out there who come up with lots of smart other techniques to do things. But like I said, I got this one. Other than the paintbrush thing, a lot of this came from Squirrel. I mean, he's been in this game for a long time. If you guys haven't checked out the Squirrel Rod channel, It's a virtual cornucopia of interesting RC related knowledge, and he works on darn near everything. So he's got some cool stuff. So just check him out if you haven't already. But I think that guys who get into this, there's a few channels that are like the mainstays, like people who you virtually have to subscribe to. Squirrel's one of them. I think that for those of us who came up through the Rustler speedrun chain, everybody knows about Draven. Everybody knows about GeoStealth. GeoStealth R1, which is interesting because I like GeoStealth's builds. He makes some really nice vehicles. I don't think I've ever seen a GeoStealth speedrun though. I know he has done speedruns because he talks about and has shown the aftermath of blowing out, his hardware and blowing out tires and that kind of stuff. But maybe I just haven't dived deep enough into his videos or his friends' videos. But I don't know if that guys, correct me if I'm wrong. Go ahead and throw in the comments if there's a link to an actual GeoStealth speedrun video or video set. I would love to see it. Okay, but yeah, I mean that's one of the guys that most everybody looks at. Then I kind of put the next. The next category of us who are just kind of coming up through the ranks, but there's some guys out there who are doing really big things and consistently just laying down big numbers. So that's like Tinsley Smith, who's been at it for a while, but then like you got the new guys who are just laying down like serious numbers over and over again, like Jam Spec. And I mention these guys a lot because I watch a lot of their videos, and we've had a lot of good interactions. But I mean, there's lots and lots of really good guys. Another guy I've had a lot of good interaction with, Blacksmith RC. He's a cool guy out there. And also, Bashers United, Lamont. He and I have a lot of similar hardware. Well, actually, he's got some big dog hardware, so he's got some stuff that's a lot more capable than what I've showed so far. Even though I've got some new stuff in the works, that you'll see that here coming up very soon. But Lamont's a trip. So watch his videos. It's Bashers United, and he gets out there and he has a blast all by himself. Sometimes with a company, but he's a riot to watch, and he's done some good things, and he's a sharp guy. So and he shouted out my channel before, so I just own that favor. But yeah, let me say. But I mean, and I don't. There's too many guys out there to include everybody on just kind of a quick, talking out the side of my neck type of, just a statement. I mean, one thing I didn't mention as I started this, last time I checked, I was at 198 or 199 subscribers, so I'm just about to cross over 200. So that's a pretty big milestone. It's kind of cool to have two big milestones right next to each other, 10,000 views and 200 subscribers. But, I make these videos for you guys. I find it fun. I find it enjoyable. But, I also like trying to get knowledge out there and just help educate, people, So I do this stuff because you guys respond to it and you guys seem to enjoy it. So as long as you enjoy it, I'll enjoy it, and I'll keep putting out more content. But like I said, I get inspiration from a lot of you guys, and the people I've mentioned, some of these guys I've mentioned before. So don't be offended if I don't mention your name, because there's, I do watch a lot of videos, and I get a lot of really cool ideas from a lot of folks. Unfortunately, I don't always take notes like I should. Coming up from a scientific background, I know part of scientific method is cite your sources. So I try to do that as often as I can. Sometimes I miss it. And in case you're wondering what the heck I'm doing right here, I'm actually taking a protective film off the spoiler. You might be asking, why in God's name would I be doing that? I'm not painting it yet. But in this particular kit, I think it's kind of stupid. The protective film is on the side that I think you actually want to paint. So I'm going to go ahead and take this right off and then immediately mask it to try to protect it. Because on the last, actually on Deuce, I painted the top side and it came out looking nice. But it just seemed odd to me. So this time around, I'm going to go ahead and paint the bottom side of them. And because I think that you spend more time looking at the car from the front than from the back. But, you know, maybe I'm just weird now because I know that, you know, for some people, you know, they want you to be seeing the car go away as opposed to watching it come at you. So that's I guess a personal preference type of thing. So I might have been a little bit out of frame there, but I'm just going ahead and I'm laying the stuff on kind of thick. So, like I said, too many people to name. So, but I'm still discovering cool channels out there, and there's a lot of guys doing really cool things, doing big things. Listen, I've really only been in this game for just over a year, maybe a year and a half. I started my channel just about a year ago. So as I mentioned, I had some really cool interactions and had some really knowledgeable guys kind of take me under their wing in a way and give me good advice and help to point me in the right direction for a lot of stuff. But I'm still discovering. So if you have some recommendations for people who I should check out, let me know. Because I am, one thing that I've learned is that the minute you think that you're learning, somebody's going to come and teach you something else. So, you know, I try to be very humble in that regard. You know, I might have a fancy education, but I can learn some stuff from pretty much all kind of places. And I've pulled some really, really cool ideas from guys who just, you know, backyard engineering, they come up with some brilliant ideas. So, yeah, I like to give credit where credit's due, but, you know, I also just, like I said, try to recognize that, you know, good ideas can come from anywhere and any pedigree. So it's, you know, that's part of trying to humble yourself in this game, because if you don't humble yourself, somebody's going to come up and they're going to humble you. So, and like my wife likes to say, that's real talk. All right, so I've pretty much got the first stage of masking all taken care of. Now, as you can see over here on Tre's body, it's already starting to, like in this areas right here around the edge, you can see it's already starting to turn clear. So when it's done, the whole body is going to look like that. So I'm going to, like I said, lay down about 2 or 3 coats of nice thick material on it so that I get the whole thing looking like that, so that I know that when I go ahead and when I score my areas through and I peel off individual reasons for paint, that I know it's going to be coming out nice. All right, so until next shot.